Hey guys and girls, Birchy here from B.Invested headquarters today. Wanted to do a little video on, people ask still to this day how a buyer's agency works. And I thought I'd just do a little video on how we work, how we operate, and how we get people to where they want to be. So I guess, if we go back 15 years ago and I had to explain what a buyer's agent was, it's a very different world out there today in 2024, 2025. So back in 2009, when I started the business, I remember saying, "Oh, we're a buyer's agent." People were like, "A buyer's agent? What do you mean?" And it's like, "Well, we charge you a fee." And well, you don't charge me a fee. A real estate agent doesn't. I can go buy a brand new property and they don't charge me a fee. Why do I have to pay you a fee? And like, well, you've got access to all the stuff out there. Go and buy a property, right? And it was a very different world to where we are in 2024, 2025. There's literally courses, there's a wash out there. Every second day I'm seeing someone that's on my Facebook page or one of my clients that I've bought 20 properties for or whatever. I'm a buyer's agent now, I'm suddenly an expert and all that sort of stuff. So the world has got a lot of buyer's agents out there. I think it's important to cut through, who the buyer's agents are, what their background is, what their belief systems are, what their results are, what they've done for themselves, what they've done for other people, what the strategy is for you to get to where you want to be, etc., etc. So if I was to break it down into the types of buyer's agents that's out there, I don't know, I've never been in any other buyer's agent. I've only built our business from scratch. And going back 15 years ago, 16 years ago, there was nothing to go by out there. There wasn't an industry of a buyer's agent. So that's how long, we've been doing this for. So what I see out there is there's two types of buyers, or there's lots of types of buyer's agents, but you've got the principal place of residence buyer's agent, and then you've got the investment property buyer's agent. So what are you using the buyer's agent for? So for principal place of residence, I help people sometimes. Wish I could push a unwind button on that, but I don't know how this thing works that well. We do help people with principal place of residence, like we don't, but I don't operate like that, right? I don't deal with people's emotions. I'm an investment firm. We're called B.Invested. We help people build wealth using property as a main vehicle of how to do so. And, I've actually got one this week for someone. I'd say 5% of my properties I buy are for principal place, 95% of them are for investment. And when I buy a property, I've got investors that have got to 20 properties and then they want a principal place of residence. And I'm like, your emotion of like, it has to have a kitchen, it has to be this. I'm like, look at the numbers, right? Every deal that I've ever bought, even my own properties that I live in, have been based on the numbers first. Yeah, some of them have been stupidly expensive purchases and all that sort of stuff. But all in all, they've been based purely on numbers. So we're running an investment business. We're looking for investment properties. And then when we break it down as to the benefits of why using a buyer's agent, like I think looking at the buyer's agents and the stats and the numbers that people are doing out there, they're talking about data. And I look at these data agents, we're using AI and data. It's like, it feels like bumper bowling, right? It's like, it's not, right? It's not how to build a portfolio, because data, when I look at data, I'm there before the data has any stats to it, right? We're buying properties in locations which may have seen bad growth. We're buying them right at the bottom of the market. If you're looking at data and saying this thing's got great growth that's happening to it, it's already had the growth. You're paying a more inflated price to it, right? So you need to look at the fundamentals of the buyer's agent and like where they're getting that data from, or that so-called data. And how does a buyer's agent work for you? So some buyer's agents, I think 90% of buyer's agents, from what I'm understanding is out there and seeing all their little gimmicky things, is, tell me what you're looking for. I want a house. I want the ability to build a duplex. I want this. I want that. Okay, I'll go get you that. Like, what do you think of this? Oh, no. They're basically the lunch order lady at your school canteen going, I want 3 chicken nuggets, right? Here's your pack of chicken nuggets, right? They're not, giving you the strategy. So I guess from dealing with B.Invested and my firm, how do we operate on helping people get to their goals of building out their portfolio. So the stats, I'll say it again, I've said it on some other videos recently. I saw the ATO publish some stats recently. In the country, there's 173 people with 20 properties or more. I'll know at least 150 of them that we've helped here at B.Invested. So that's our track record there of getting people 20 or more. As for people that have 10 or more properties in their portfolio, the ATO statistic shows that there's 2,500 people with 10 or more properties. I would have been able to contribute to at least half of them directly. The other half of them are probably watching videos and learning bits and pieces along the way and doing it themselves. So from those numbers, we want to make sure, what are your goals when you're coming in? So the first question I ask everyone when I'm talking to them is, what are your goals? So I've got a team, I've got like hundreds of staff nationally. We have a big organization. I've got all different types of financial services, businesses, everything, right? The only business that I work in personally is my buyer's agency. I've got managers, operations managers. I've got people I report to make sure that, the whole business runs smoothly. So I look at my role in the business. I am the buyer's agent. There isn't a team of buyer's agents you're dealing with Birchy when it comes to doing those deals. So my team, I've got a customers, like an investor relations team, which look after my investors and communications and whatnot, because I'm only one person when it comes to that point. But the strategies, the portfolio growth hinges off me for quality assurance on that front. So I'm across every one of my investors' portfolios. My questions that I ask to my investors, every single one of my investors I speak to, like, hey, what are your goals? What are we trying to achieve? I work with them the plan, give them the map session, present them the deals, negotiate the deals, whatnot. So first thing is understanding what are your goals, right? So you tell me what your goals are, and I sit there and look at, okay, where do we go from there? What does the big picture look like? And you might say, well, I want to retire. I've got this is where I'm at. So once we've worked out where it is that we're at and where it is that we're going, then we can have clarity to fill in the gaps between there to get you there. I don't know why I bumped that just then. To get you to where you want to be. So if the step that you're going to take isn't going to get you to the next level on that playing field, well, then we don't want to be taking that step. So each time I'm buying a property for my investor, I'm thinking, how's it setting him up for the next one? It's not, oh, what do you think, right? You don't go to the doctor and say, yeah, I think I've got cancer, I'm terminally ill, whatever. The doctor doesn't go, oh, well, what do you think we should do? Should we take some Panadol? Should we get some acupuncture? Should we look at fasting? Should we look at some chemo potentially? The doctor doesn't do that. The doctor's like, hey, this is what we need to do, and guides you to where you want to be. So as a buyer's agent, investment focused, I'm looking at, okay, well, what steps, what's the prescription going to look like to get you to the healthy financial position that you want to be at? And looking at what step on the portfolio. Everyone's got a different starting point. Everyone's got an end destination. They're different, require different inputs. So once we understand where it is that we need to go and where it is that we're starting, then we can work out the dots in between as to what assets do we need, what selection do we need, what finance hurdles do you going to have on your journey, what objections do we need to sort of prepare for before we get to those problems. Do you need assets that are more cash flow based? Do you need assets that are more equity based? How does this asset, we can do that deal, but how does that help us? Is that going to help us get to the next deal, or is it going to hold us back from getting to the next one? So if someone comes to me with 100 grand, I'm not thinking about the first one or two properties. I'm thinking about property number 3, number 4, because you've got the first two easy, 100 grand to get you into 2 properties. But how do we get from those 2 properties into 4 properties? And when at number 3 and 4, I'm thinking, okay, we've got them locked in. How do we get those 2 properties we're going to buy for the next step to get us number 5 and 6? So locating the properties and negotiating of it, that all gets handled from the back end. That's what your buyer's agent should do. So they should locate the deal, negotiate on your behalf, all that sort of stuff. So when I present my deals to my investors, I've already pre-negotiated with the agent to get the best price that I can. I guess, when you're employing us at B.Invested, you're employing us as a professional negotiator, I've spent decades negotiating tens of thousands of deals. I don't think there's anyone in the country that's negotiated more residential real estate than myself. Not a real estate agent, not a buyer's agent, no one else out there. So, the relationships that have occurred over the course of the last 20 years, being an investor personally and professionally on a front representing other people, the relationship with the agents out there gives me a better mover advantage. I've got more control over the agent. The relationship is like, hey, we're getting this deal, yeah? Like, this is how it's going to go down. We're making it happen. And we've got that authority to the agent to say, hey, get it to us, and at the best price as well. So I look at every dollar that I get off. If I'm getting $500 off for someone, that's contributing to the next deposit on their property. And I look at it that we're buying a property that's below market value with good growth on it. That's going to help you, propel yourself into that next property. So yeah, I'm looking at that we're paying dividends on our fees that we charge. So I'm looking at that, each property that you're buying, that we've got inbuilt equity in it. We've got the KPIs that are being met. So we're paying dividends back to you on the fees that you pay for us. So if your buyer's agent's buying a property and they're saying, well, it's in a good growth location, it could potentially, hopefully one day, maybe build a granny flat, maybe developers will come in, maybe it's got good growth prospects. So the last 5 years it's doubled, it's tripled, it's Perth, it's Townsville, it's Gladstone. We've been to all those locations before anyone got there, right? We pushed those numbers up, right? We bought stuff there when they were cents in the dollar. Everyone's come and go, oh, look at these stats. We're there before the action. We want to buy things. I'm a contrarian investor and I want to make sure that my assets that I'm securing for my investors are very, very well placed. So when it comes to how a buyer's agent works, you're going to get the result that you're going to get from your buyer's agent is the result of the person that you're dealing with, right? So if your buyer's agent has the capability to get people to 20 properties, good on them. If the buyer's agent has the capacity to get you into great development sites or into a commercial property or whatever the case may be, you want to make sure they've got the runs on the board to get you to where you want to be, and it's not just an anomaly, right? I could pull out anomalies and be like, oh, this is a bit of data here, there's a bit of data there, here's a situation, but you want to see bulk amounts of those situations of them being able to time after time after time be able to get you to where you want to be. So I guess the benefits of a buyer's agent is if you're time poor, there's a lot of buyer's agents that just go, if you're time poor, users, whatever the case may be. The relationships, crucial, right? So let's just draw some little things that you want to make sure that your buyer's agent is achieving for you. Relationships. How much they're getting the property below market value, very important, right? Below market value and asking prices are two separate things, but what's the chance of pulling out equity? So what's the equity releases like? If you're spending 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand on a buyer's agent, and they're pulling out no equity, then you're wasting money. If you're spending 10, 15, 20 grand on a buyer's agent, they're pulling out 50 grand, 100 grand worth of equity, then they're paying dividends, right? It's like you're not even paying them, right? They're paying you, right? I feel like my job's the best job in the world because I'm like, hey, call me, I'll make you 50K, right? So your goals, right? You want to make sure that they've got the ability to get you there. What's their strategy? What's their strategy look like? People can talk certain things, they can say certain things, but delivering on them, what does their back end look like? What does the finance strategy look like? How's the property going to get you to the next one? So, the goals and the strategy, what can you see clarity from speaking to the buyer's agent of how they're going to get you to that end goal? Area knowledge. So when I'm speaking to my investors, right, I had someone I spoke to the other day. I bought him some properties a few years ago and going for the next stage of his portfolio to get him to retirement. And I sent him something in 4 different states, and in those states, 2 different locations in 2 of those states, right? And if you're an investor and you're like, fuck, I don't know what's happening in Melbourne, in Perth, in Adelaide, in Sydney, in Brisbane, you know, each state has different fundamentals that are happening there. And, you know, how long is it going to take you to go and research, know what's a good deal, understand what's happening in the area? Is it the good side of the street, the bad side of the street? This one's cheap because of that one's cheap because of that. You know, that block's no good because it's got problems with it, right? The data, like, I'm the number one user on realestate.com, right? It's where's the research that's going in it? So area knowledge, research, you're paying people to be able to do that research for you to get you the result of what you're trying to achieve. So I'm talking to you as an investment sort of buyer's agent, not as a principal place resident one. So yeah, relationships will get you the deal cheap, will get you in a seat at the table. The other thing as well is protection. So when was the last time you bought a property? People go, I've never bought a property before. And okay, well, how do you know the agent's not trying to fuck you, right? The real estate agent is there to shake as much money out of you for the seller of the property. As a buyer's agent, we're here to make sure you're safe, make sure that you're not getting screwed by the agent. There's so many times where I've seen people and they've got signed into a wrong contract, or they've bought the wrong property, or they haven't been advised correctly. So, you know, it can be lonely, right? It's like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I have an interesting story of my nanny, right? My nanny the other day had said, I'm buying a property, and sent me these text messages, hey, this. And I was like, I'm going to use her text messages to the real estate agent. The real estate agent was ignoring her. She was like, I laughed. I was like, look, let it go, right? Let it go. The agent's not going to deal with you. And the funny thing is, I went and got her a property in the same complex, and I texted the agent. I said, hey, it's Nathan here. What's going on, right? Let's get it. I texted her 10 minutes, and she'd been trying to get this agent for a week. And yeah, it's the protection. It's knowing how to deal with the real estate agent, how to speak the real estate agent's jargon, how to get the best cut through. When people are, and the most important part is professional negotiator. I may be shit at writing on a whiteboard. My handwriting's not good, right? But being a professional negotiator, I'd say it's my top characteristic of what I can add value in something. So professional negotiator, people will quite often come in and negotiate with a real estate agent, and they come in me against you and all those sorts of things. As a professional negotiator, you need to collaborate, and you know, certain things of how you talk to the agent to get them to do certain tasks. So, you know, it's just having that knowledge of, and the only way it comes is so many transactions. And yeah, I've said for a long while I've done 15,000. I think it's more up to 20,000 transactions that I've got on the board there. So I'm just throwing it up there, everyone. 20,000 negotiations. That's negotiations that have transacted. That's not 20,000 transactions that I've spoken to the agent, the deal's gone pear-shaped, because to get to 20,000 is probably, you know, close to 500,000 negotiations there to get to that 20,000 that are successful. So there's a fucking lot that's gone on in the last 20 years of this journey. So on that note, folks, just sort of share a few pointers on buyers agents and how they can help you. And, you know, I talk about these numbers, and quite often I had a map session the other day with someone, and they've been watching us for years and been following all my work. And he said, I thought I'd just bite the bullet and use you, right? And he goes, I've been watching your properties, the prices, and he goes, I can't believe the stuff that you're buying and the prices that you're paying for them and all that. He goes, it's either I'm missing something that I can't do myself, or you're full of shit. And he goes, you can't just be full of shit for the last 15 years that I've been watching you. He goes, that's why I came on to use you. And I think he's up to 3 or 4 properties now, pretty much in about a month. So yeah, with it, the results are what speaks. Make sure whoever you're using as a buyer's agent, there's wonderful people out there in the industry that get wonderful results. There's 90% of the buyer's agents out there, I don't think even know how to tie their shoelaces together, because they don't know, you know, much about property. They don't own properties and all that sort of stuff. They're doing it as a hustle to get ahead in life. But there is some very good people out there. Make sure that your buyer's agent is capable. I love the fact that it's actually, my life is so much better as a buyer's agent now because there's a whole industry around it. It's like people used to say, what's a buyer's agent? Now they're like, oh, you're a buyer's agent. Oh, how can you help me? And what makes you different, right? So yeah, with it, if you need help on building out that strategy, building the portfolio, you know where to find us, 1300 367 925. Hit us up, admin@binvested.com.au. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll speak soon. If you want to join the buyer's agency, I'm your buyer's agent. Have a great day. Bye for now.